The Macabre World podcast is brought to you by Darker Art Studio, home of real human bone jewelry. Stock and custom pieces are available, so visit us on the web at www.darkerartstudio.com and show them your darker art side. Macabre World, a podcast from Darker Art Studio, where we explore the dark, strange, and unusual from this world and beyond. Hello and welcome to the Macabre World podcast. I'm your host, Rocky Digati, and this week we have a Minisode. And this Minisode, as many of you know, an extensive area of study for me has been of folk magic. I like to study folk magic, superstitions, herbalism, and syncretic religion and that sort of thing. It never ceases to fascinate me. Now, at this point, I'm probably an honorary witch doctor, if not by study, then certainly by bloodline. My mother's family is from the Azores Islands of Portugal, and I come from a long line of somewhat odd folks. And if my cousins are listening, I'm not talking specifically about you, but you know who I'm talking about. So years ago, I wrote to my cousin and asked her to send me a very weird book. Thank you, Terry. And I think she had to hunt for it. But the book is called Grande Livro do São Cipriano, o Tesouros do Feiticeiro, which means the big book of Saint Cipriano, or Treasury of the Wizard. How cool is that? So it's a book of occult science, so they say, and written allegedly over 1,000 years ago. The book is loaded with controversy, and legends say that you'll go insane merely by opening it, which isn't really a concern for me, because I think you all know I'm pretty much already gone for years before this book even got to me. But this book is filled with all sorts of useful conjures for demons, prayers of petition, and spells. Oh yes, they have spells for everything. Now, most common in the menu of Portuguese melodrama are spells for love. My very favorite is called The Enchantment of the Black Owl, and that's in this book. So pay attention, take notes, and get ready for some real practical magic from my mother's ancestral home of Portugal. This spell is designed to have the one you adore you right back. So basically it's kind of a manipulative concept. But all is fair in love and war, and old rural Portugal is full of both. Once you have your heart set on someone, that's when you need to get to work. Okay, you must perform this spell on a Friday night. Sexta-feira in Portuguese, Friday. On a Friday night, because traditionally that's Venus's day, and it's ideal for works of magic dealing with affairs of the heart. Great, so now you have to blow a perfectly good Friday night for this. Alright, so on said Friday night, and again, this is my loose translation, heavy on the loose. So on said Friday night, you have to go into the woods at midnight and find a black owl. Now, as far as practicality is concerned, I don't know about your area, but here in the wilds of New Jersey burbs, where I currently reside, I'm going to tell you that, we're not exactly lousy with black owls. And if we were, I don't know how you see one at midnight. So I'd be a little more likely to run into Jimmy Hoffa and the Pine Barrens than finding a black owl. But that's probably why this only works in Portugal. Alright, so you're out there, in the woods, at midnight, miraculously not getting mugged, buried, or eaten like carrion by a herd of some random variety of carnivorous horribles. And then you suddenly find the damn black owl. The next step is to stun it. I'm not sure how you stun an owl. Do you tell it a shocking story? Do you fire a starter pistol near its ear? Oh, that might be startling it, not stunning it, probably the wrong spell. Or do you just, go on with some other shocking behavior? I'm not sure how you stun it. Well, once upon a time, we had a bat that accidentally got itself trapped inside my mother's house, and my resourceful sister Paula advised stunning the bat by wrapping it with a wet towel, which was, basically how my mother broke a bunch of tchotchkes in the house by swinging a wet towel around. Well, if that's how you stun a bat, Then if you get a bigger towel, maybe I figure like a beach towel, if you wet that down, maybe that can stun your owl. So just stick with me on this. So now you're in the woods of Portugal at midnight on a Friday in the presence of a black owl holding a wet beach towel. Good for you. Except there's a small wrench in this system. Owls, to my knowledge, don't just sit around on the ground blithely looking to get smacked with wet beach towels. Usually they're up in trees, very high in trees. So I assume the next step is to climb the tree, wet beach towel in hand, and then go stun the owl. Now, assuming you can get your lovesick idiot ass up a tree and successfully hit a black owl with a wet towel and manage to stun it, now you have to take the stunned owl down the tree and get your feet on the ground for the next step. Now, I don't know how long owls that have been hit with wet beach towels will stay stunned, but they seem like pretty hip with it creatures, and I don't know that they'd stay out of it for long. So I'd get down from that tree with your towel full of owl pretty quick. So once you get down, and again, this is my translation, the beach towel is kind of my own riff on this, so take it for what it's worth. So now you're down. Now you have to stuff the owl in a box. 3 words of caution at this juncture: bird of prey. Ever get a good look at an owl's feet? Those feet are designed to scoop up mammals and shred them for consumption. So I'm just telling you, basically, the owl, he can kick your ass, but good. But you're doing so well. Now you manage, with what has to be an extraordinary amount of luck, to find, stun, and box a black owl. Now the next thing you do, according to this book, is bury the box 3 feet in the ground. Now, me personally, I'd use a big box so the thing doesn't suffocate. Then you wait 8 hours, probably sitting around nursing your wounds. Now, you ought to be nice and groggy 8 hours after that, after all that owl chasing, climbing, stunning episodes going on the night before. So, you might want to load up with a few espressos before you try this next bit. So, 8 hours have passed. Now, you have to dig up the box. There's no way around it. You have to dig up that poor owl. Now, when you dig up the box, you have to pluck a feather from his wing. Now, I'm betting, if the owl didn't perish from asphyxia, that when you open the box and he sees the light of day, he's going to be pissed. Very, very pissed. You might want to remember that little tip I gave you, earlier about the talons, so, watch out for that. So, if you're not shredded and bleeding by the wayside by now, and you have managed to pluck a feather from the formerly stunned, slightly unconscious, been buried in a box for 8 hours owl, black owl at that, then now you have a very, very powerful magical item in your hands. Well, after that ordeal, don't feel too bad. It was probably worse for the owl. You have 1 step left, and the spell will be complete. Now you have to give the feather to the person who is the inspiration for you to complete this act of unquestionable insanity. So then, once receiving this feather from this formerly stunned, boxed up owl, they fall instantly in love with you and want for no other while they have that feather. Now, the book does not go into what happens if your beloved loses the feather. I assume that they spurn you and go off with someone who isn't nuts enough to try the stunt that you just pulled to get the feather in the first place. But assuming they keep the feather, now you're free to live happily ever after. Happily ever after. Now that's, easy enough, right? So, word of caution. Do feel free to go off and try this yourself to sort out your woes in the area of l'amour. But I would advise that if you like someone enough to go into the woods trying to whack an owl with a towel and, trying to pluck feathers and bury them and all that other crazy stuff, why not try telling them first? You wouldn't have as much, fun in the woods with the owl, but you would be able to get things out there probably without needing a tetanus shot So good luck, happy hunting, and we'll see you next week with a full episode. Stay kooky, my friends. Thank you for listening to Macabre World. You can find us on the web at www.darkerartsstudio.com.